And so you may be thinking, alright, we got it. There is a new prop in town. What's so special about it? Ain't there anything else to celebrate? Oh yeah, my friend, there is.
Okay, I'm gonna drop my terrible southern accent right now. Don't worry. I was trying to set a mood. Anyway, finally PoseIt is available on iOS too. If you think that was trivial, or if you think that was trivial, let's say that making an app for iOS requires a couple of more steps compared to Android. And a Mac, because you can't build your own app from a PC. You need a Mac. I also had to buy an iPad Air with the Apple Pencil to test it, right? And I have to say, it is fantastic. Like this thing, it's an incredible digital art device. And in the end, it was all very well worth it. I also love the fact that you can run PoseIt on one side of the screen and paint on the other side. It's such a nice setup. So yeah, see, I was not an Apple user, but I admit when they nail something, and this thing here is fantastic. So who knows, maybe I will switch to Apple for good in the end. So for all the new iOS users that are going to try PoseIt for the first time, I just want to quickly tell you that this project was born as a very rough and personal tool that turned into my Corona project during the first lockdown. Some people learn to bake or sew. I learned that what it means to code a bit better to make an app usable also for others, and how to publish it. I also wanted to make it as accessible as possible, so don't get fooled if you see all the items locked when you launch the app. Nothing is actually behind a paywall. You should be able to access everything you want just by watching a dedicated ad. And if you decide that you had enough ads and want to support PoseIt, you can remove all the ads forever with this pay what you want system, where you decide how much this app is worth it. Alright, that was the first big news. The second one is, of course, the horse. Why am I so excited about it? Because it is the first prop that is both a flex prop and a MetaProp, which meant a very special setup under the hood that I wasn't really sure would have worked at all. If you wonder what the heck is a flex prop, well, flex props are these props with this icon here, and they feature a special slider that allows them to change in shape, a bit like this cape. MetaProps are instead this kind of assets, well, for now it's just one, where you can articulate some of its parts a bit like a mannequin. And the horse, well, it's both. So when you spawn it, you can select the different body parts and tweak them. But actually, yeah, you can try and you will see that making a good pose for a horse is quite hard. Already making it for a human is, it's not so obvious, but we are very well trained at spotting not so good looking position. But try that with a horse, and unless you are some kind of horse expert, I don't know, you will see that it's quite challenging. So this is where the flex prop feature comes in handy. In the flex prop slider, I animated the horse in what I think are its most common poses. You have the walk, the trot, the canter. I didn't even know this name before. The gallop, jump, kick, sliding, yeah, a bunch. And all of this was done in Blender, which is also another little bet I did with myself, because it is still a software I'm relatively new to. I'm not saying this is the first model I ever sculpted, rigged, and animated. Of course, I'm familiar with other industry standard softwares like Maya and ZBrush, but they are quite expensive, and for PoseIt, I wanted to try to stick to Blender. And yeah, as you can see, like here, there are like all the other assets. And for the horse, I had to learn also the basics of rigging in Blender. I know that Blender comes with the Rigify add-on, but I wasn't completely satisfied by the way the rig behaved, and I also had a very specific need for this model. Also, all the animation of the horse were done by hand. Of course, looking at some reference videos, but the animation was done by hand. As you can see, I placed just a couple of keyframes here and there. So in the end, this doesn't really want to be a horse animation per se, but rather like a comprehensive list of poses you can start with for your drawing references. And nothing, that's why when everything came together and worked, which is not an obvious thing since coding is also something quite new for me, I thought to celebrate with a little video of the first animal, FlexProp and MetaProp in PoseIt. Speaking of MetaProps, one new feature that I found necessary after testing the horse was this reset MetaProp button. Because when you tweak a body part, for instance of the horse, which also has like the animation in it, the tweak will propagate throughout the whole animation. You can use this button to reset the selected body part to its original rotation, or you can hold it to reset all the prop parts to their original rotation. Also, one other new and requested feature is the possibility to make the lights behave consistently with the scene and not locked to the camera. By default, the light direction will always come from the side it was set to, even if you orbit the camera around. See how it always comes from the left? And by tapping this button here, instead, they will rotate with the scene. Since we're here, let me show you some other new props I managed to squeeze in. We have the hood, FlexProp. You can attach it where you want, but ideally you want to attach it to the chest so the head can move inside without carrying it around. And you can use the slider to fold it. We have the axe, another FlexProp that some of you were asking for. It goes from this twin blade kind of axe to single blade to a kind of hatchet and everything of course in between. And I kind of like this hatchet shape a lot. So if you want, remember you can always enter scale mode with this button here, scale the prop even on one single axis and get even more variation out of a single prop. And we also have the longsword, which originally wasn't a FlexProp, but I wanted to make it so you can morph it into the Dragon Slayer. This is a tribute to the genius of Kentaro Miura that recently passed away. If you don't know who he is the mastermind behind Berserk, which is an incredible graphic novel that inspires so many. If you like the Dark Souls kind of design, take a look at Berserk. They really took so much inspiration from that. Let's finish off this video with a little experiment I did. I tried to make a sketch with a horse, first without PoseIt aid, and then with it. Same pose. I know you might think, of course, he drew it intentionally bad, the one without PoseIt, and I actually have no way to convince you otherwise, so it's up to you to believe me or not. But what I will tell you though is that actually I biased this test more in favor of the sketch without PoseIt. How? Well, I picked a very simple pose to begin with. I could have tried a very complicated pose that PoseIt would have helped a lot with. Also, I did this drawing after watching sculpting and animating a horse in Blender, so I already learned quite a lot about horses just by doing that. If I would have attempted this before all that work, for sure the result would have been worse. So as you can see, I did favor one of the two sketches, but it was the one where I didn't have PoseIt as reference. Okay, let's see the result. Can you guess which one is which? Yeah, of course, this one is so much better. I mean, in my defense, I can say I basically never draw horses. Always liked them, but they were too tricky for me. Already this is a huge improvement from what I could draw before working at the horse prop. Anyway, that's it. Thank you for watching and for the beautiful reviews and support. It really helps me keep me motivated and use my free time to develop this app further. Cheers, guys.